This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC7 at 7. Tonight, we pause and remember. Has it really been 15 years since 9/11? Where were you? What do you remember? What did we learn? Sunday marks the 15th anniversary of the attack on America. There will be ceremonies. There will absolutely be tears. But tonight there will be memories from some of the most unique perspectives in the room with President Bush here in Sarasota, on the streets of New York City, and we'll talk to former Florida Senator Bob Graham, still trying to get to the bottom of what happened and why 15 years later. But first, our top 7 stories at 7. There are new details tonight in a Manatee County woman's alleged plot to kill her ex-husband. Rachel Leahy made her first appearance today and is charged with solicitation of premeditated murder. Detectives say Leahy unknowingly solicited an undercover detective. Investigators say she wanted to kill her ex-husband as a way to get custody of her children. Neighbors are shocked.
It's concerning. We live in the neighborhood. We're just thankful that, everything was found out in advance and that the officials and the authorities took care of it. It's just a great feeling knowing that we're taken care of in that way.
Okay.
Leahy's bond is set at $100,000. She is also ordered to surrender her passport and cease contact with her ex-husband. Longboat Key will soon be making a big decision on the possibility of dredging some of the island's canals. If town officials have their way, they'll have ongoing maintenance of the canals, which will include the dredging to prevent future problems. Boats getting stuck is one of the problems the town is looking to avoid. The other is making sure the stormwater outpours are clear.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, there's always moving tides and things that will clog an inlet or an entrance to an inlet or something like that.
Public Works will present its final report to Longboat Key commissioners sometime this fall. And Florida's Department of Health announcing today that 84 pregnant women have now been infected with the Zika virus. The news comes as the spraying of the pesticide ramps up in South Florida. Mosquito control is using a chemical called NAILD, which has led to protests from residents in Miami Beach who fear it could be hazardous.
NAILD has every bit of a damaging potential to the unborn fetus.
It's an organic material, can be spread over organic farm. It's been used in the Florida Keys for a number of years.
Meanwhile, negotiations in both the House and Senate on a $1.1 billion Zika funding bill is expected to continue through the weekend. The head of the CDC is warning that the funding is needed, quote, fast. Sarasota's downtown branch of the YMCA is closing its doors. The Y says it is shutting down the Babe Wheeler location because of high rental fees and a declining membership. Its location off of Beja Vista will be renovated. That facility offers amenities like a pool, social areas, and childcare. The downtown branch will close October 7th. After nearly a decade of work, Southeastern Guide Dogs in Palmetto is opening a major new facility. An $8.5 million student center is a reality thanks to hundreds of donors. It will give the visually impaired a place to train with their guide dogs and also an operating center for volunteers. The organization says the new center will serve more than 500 students each year. And Bob, that's great news.
Great program right there. Absolutely. Getting bigger and better, too. We're looking at a few showers around tonight. Big football games taking place. But the good news is the last couple of weekends have been bad for football. This weekend, not too bad. Just hot. The high today was 95 degrees. That actually tied an old record. And we are looking at a few just passing showers moving on by. There hasn't been any lightning strikes with these storms, so that's a good thing, too. And it looks as though most of the games will get off without a hitch. There could be a few brief showers during some of the games. Let's get a look at the radar picture, show you the activity has been just kind of spotty, blowing up here and outflow boundaries, creating other little showers. We just had a brief shower here in downtown Sarasota just about 20 minutes ago, and that has since moved on. One near Palmetto and heading toward Terracea. That activity not all that intense. Down to street level you go. 24th Avenue West, getting some rainfall in Palmetto. And then there's that shower that moved through downtown Sarasota just about 15-20 minutes ago. That is now off on Longboat Key, the south end. And you can kind of see it spreading out toward the west Elsewhere, the showers that were around Anna Maria have since moved on, but there could be another isolated shower here or there. Temperatures that hot, there's a lot of there's still a lot of energy in the atmosphere, which could cause a little bit more shower activity this evening, but it should not be a washout by any stretch. 85 degrees right now, and the dew point 77. We do have a tropical low down south. It just kind of flared up south of Miami. You kind of see it spinning there. It's really void of any thunderstorms. It's just a little bit of a swirl. The Hurricane Center giving this a 40% chance developing over the course of the next 24 to 48 hours, but it's going to move away from us, so it should not be a big factor. We are not anticipating any kind of problems here with that. And as far as the forecast goes, Alan, looks good for the weekend. We're calling for just a few isolated showers on Saturday and Sunday. Better chances when we go back to work on Monday.
I'll take that.
All right.
All right. Thanks a lot, Bob. And still to come, the Suncoast role in 9/11. ABC7's Linda Carson was in the room with President Bush on that day. She'll share her experiences when we come back.
What does it mean when New South Window says Factory Direct?
It means we have a factory.
It means we eliminate the middleman.
It means you get an award-winning, energy-efficient window at factory direct pricing.
Plus, New South windows are made in Florida.
Ford Florida Homes.
By Florida workers. Because we know Florida weather.
Bring your measurements this Saturday from 9 to 4 to get huge discounts. New South Window. We manufacture, we install, we guarantee. Call now.
Just because someone grows older, does that mean they have to grow apart from their friends or from the things they love to do? With Right at Home, it doesn't. Right at Home's professional team thoughtfully selects caregivers to help with personal care, housekeeping, meals, and most of all, staying engaged in life.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are you ready to go?
Oh, I sure am.
We can provide the right care right at home.
Is your mop a dirty, disgusting mess? You need the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System, the only mop and bucket that spins the dirt away. A system that cleans practically anything and everything with super absorbent microfiber. Dip it in the washer side and the mess releases into the bucket. Then place it in the dryer side and push on the pedal. You get a clean mop pad that's practically dry and ready for more. And your hands will never again touch a dirty, disgusting mop. The heads are washable and reusable. Get the Hurricane 360 Spin Mop System for just 2 payments of $19.99. You'll also get a Sticky Buddy, the reusable sticky roller that picks up pet hair and lint and washes clean in seconds. You can take advantage of our 2-for-1 Pick It Up special and get a second spin mop set. Just pay additional shipping and fee. And we'll upgrade you to free priority handling. So don't wait. Order now.
Call 1-800-394-1524 to get your Hurricane Spin Mop double offer. So hurry and call 1-800-394-1524. Call now.
I'm your spokesperson. This is an important message for anyone who took the prescription drug Xarelto or Pradaxa and had a serious bleeding event. If you or a loved one took Xarelto or Pradaxa and suffered from a serious bleeding event,
call 800-220-8268 immediately.
Xarelto and Pradaxa have been linked to serious internal bleeding, stroke, and death.
Call 800-220-8268 immediately.
You may be entitled to compensation. Call now for a free consultation.
ABC7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Where were you on 9/11? We're going to ask that question a number of times tonight. For my colleague, Linda Carson, it was in the room with President Bush when he learned about the attack on America. Linda.
That's true, Alan. President Bush came to Emma E. Booker Elementary School that day to promote reading. 3 media teams were allowed in the classroom with him. One was from the national media, one was from the Sarasota County school system, and from the local media, ABC7's chief photographer, Devin Marshall, and me. And then came the events that changed history. It started out as an exciting day. The president was visiting.
He was going to talk to us about reading, and he was going to shake our hand.
I stood a few feet away from the president as he listened to Mrs. Sandra Daniels' second graders read. Suddenly, the chief of staff, Andrew Card, stepped up and whispered in his ear. I thought he said, time to move on. President Bush looked very thoughtful, let the student who was reading finish, and stood up. We reporters had been told to leave our phones outside, but ABC reporter Ann Compton had hers, and she said, Mr. President, do you know a second plane just hit the World Trade Center? He said, we're about to address that, and walked out. We know now he stepped into a nearby room for a quick briefing. Suncoast dignitaries chosen to stand on the podium with the president in the media room knew nothing of the attacks. They started to applaud as the president entered, then realized something was wrong.
Today we've had a national tragedy. 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center in an apparent terrorist attack on our country.
The president left immediately, boarded Air Force One, and took off. I was live at Emma E. Booker the rest of that day, still in shock that the president was in our little city on this tragic day. Then, unbelievably, we learned that the terrorists had trained here. The 2 terrorists who took over the controls of the 2 planes that crashed into the World Trade Center had trained at Huffman Aviation in Venice. Flight school owner Rudy Deckers remembers them well.
I never liked Atta. I called him dead man walking. His face was impressionless. He had his eyes were terrible. It was just not a pleasant person.
But the other man he liked.
If Atta was nasty, he tried to be nasty, but his character was not a nasty person. He was actually a very friendly person.
Both men were seen frequently at the Venice Library and at local restaurants. We spoke to fellow students.
I hate to say this, but they look like they were up to something always, you know? Yeah. You know when you two guys are just kind of like mulling around, whispering to each other type of thing.
The 2 terrorists lived in this house in Venice with Charles and Drew Voss for about a week. Then Charles kicked them out because they were so rude to his wife. They also took flying lessons at Jones Aviation in Sarasota, but flunked out after 20 hours. And a 3rd terrorist, Ziar Jara, took flying lessons at the Florida Flight Training School, also in Venice. Barbara Draper ran a Western store in downtown Sarasota. When she saw this newspaper, she was shocked to realize that the terrorist had shopped in her store.
These 2 young men came in, and they were nice-looking boys, and they wanted to know if I had alligator boots. They turned out to be the one I was talking to, and he's the main one. He's the one I remember because I looked at him to order the boots. That was Ziad. And he was supposedly flew the plane in Pennsylvania.
On the first anniversary of the attacks, we returned to Emma E. Booker to remember.
What we're here to do today is to stop and think and honor the families, the victims, and the heroes of that 9/11 day.
September 11th, 2001. A day that brought great heartbreak, but also great pride in our fellow Americans. I had not been a fan of President George Bush until that day. I didn't vote for him, but seeing him address the nation, Alan, he was everything I could have ever wanted in a president.
Linda, thank you. And in the moment, Linda and I will sit down and talk more about being in the room that day with President Bush at the moment the planes crashed into the World Trade Center.
We're losing exotic animals on a daily basis, and the ones that we have in captivity are really the ambassadors for their wild counterparts. I'm Clayton Rozier from the Big Cat Habitat and Gulf Coast Sanctuary, housing over 150 exotic animals that needed a great home. And if you love animals, please help them. Do it locally. Support your local no-kill shelters, your local wild animal sanctuaries. Make a difference where you can.
Welcome to the all-new Seymour Buick GMC on the island of Venice.
Seymour smiles.
Seymour quality selection of new and pre-owned vehicles.
Seymour for your trade.
Seymour Savings.
It's the Buick 2016 model year sale down. Now get 20% below MSRP on select Encore models in stock. That's nearly $5,000 below MSRP on the 2016 Buick Encore.
Seymour now at Seymour Buick GMC on the island of Venice. Go to SeymourBuickGMC.com.
If you're one of the millions of Americans who are disabled and unable to work, I have an important message. You may be entitled to receive disability benefits through Social Security. You'll be matched up with an advocate who will evaluate your situation, handle your application, deal with Social Security for you, and handle all appeals and hearings. Best of all, there are no upfront fees, so you pay nothing until you receive your benefits. Call the Citizens Disability Helpline today for a free, no-obligation consultation.
Using baby powder or talc may lead to ovarian cancer. $72 million was awarded in a recent talc lawsuit after lawyers found secret internal documents showing that the baby powder manufacturer knew about the link between talcum powder and ovarian cancer for decades, but never told the public. If you were diagnosed with ovarian cancer after using talcum powder on a regular basis, you may qualify for a cash award. Call 800-793-6621. 800-793-6621.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half-mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. And all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. Independence U, for an independent you.
1-800-350-9872.
For more on the Suncoast ties to 9/11 is ABC7's own Linda Carson. Linda, what was the first moment you realized that something was going on?
I did not realize anything until Ann Compton called out and said, "Mr. President, do you know a second plane hit the World Trade Center?" I had watched his face when Andrew Card whispered to him. I just thought he was serious and then got up, thanked the kid, and left. At that point, I realized something was going on, but we had had a little plane fly into a big building in Tampa. So I thought, uh-oh, we've had two people fly into the World Trade Center. I had no idea until we got into the media center that it was anything like it turned out to be.
Because you had to be there very early, and you're in a lockdown situation.
Yes.
So
we were there at 5 a.m., and we got into the room, and we stayed there, so we couldn't move. Our live truck operator was alone in the live truck. He knew everything, but he had no way to talk to us.
Because there were no cell phones those
No,
days.
there were not. We couldn't have any way to communicate. So it was like we were cut off from the world. And the people in the media center, you could see in there, they're really excited about seeing the president. They start to applaud, and then they see his face, and they realize from the look on his face, there is something wrong.
Right. Now, when people have looked back at the video of President Bush in the classroom, if you look at it, you could see that there was something on his mind the entire time. And then after Andrew Card, the chief of staff, whispers in his ears, you could see,
he was very still and very serious. And we had been told that we would go through the media center, and there were people lined up in the atrium to shake his hands. And he was going that way too. But he went this way into a little room. We ran around, and we were walking down that path, and people would stick out their hand. Then they saw, "Where's the president? Where's the president?" But there was not more than like 5 or 6 minutes between the time we left that room and we got into the media center. And I don't know how he planned what he said. I'd always thought presidents had somebody feed them every word. But I was just amazed at the way he handled it, what he said, and it made me not be afraid, but be very, very proud to be American and be very, very close to all of the people that were there that day.
So even when President Bush came into the auditorium and spoke on national television and to the crowd there, did you know to the extent of what was happening?
As he came in, they turned on the monitor. So for the first time, we could see the monitor. We couldn't hear it, but we could see the buildings. But at first, you don't know what those buildings are. I just heard World Trade Center. So you see the monitor, and you could see when he came in, the people were clapping, then they stopped, and there was dead silence. And this was just in a few seconds' time. So nobody in that room, or hardly anybody in that room, knew anything was going on until he told us.
When the president was speaking, I mean, what were your thoughts? What were you thinking? I mean, obviously the gravity of it, yet on one hand, that president was right here. You could see the TV monitors. What were you thinking?
And our country was under attack. I was thinking this couldn't happen to America. Nobody would dare attack us. But it made me feel very strong because I never had any doubt that the country was going to be okay, because it felt very, very strong and very safe at that moment. But it was the thought of what was going on there at that moment in time. And you just thought, nothing's ever going to be the same again.
And the president finished his remarks and then immediately left.
He immediately left. His motorcade, of course, was ready in front of the building. We had had camera crews all over, from the Colony to St. Armand's to Booker. We had a crew at the airport. They were waiting for him to leave, hoping maybe to get a word with him. He was in that plane before you could count to 10. So they were really moving fast when they started. And of course, they left the national media here. So hundreds of people were left here. No planes were allowed to fly. Everybody was rushing for cars to get out of town, but they were stuck here for a while.
Okay, Linda, thank you so much. We'll be back in just a moment, and we're going to take a look at where I was on that infamous day. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dylan Radigan. The world is brimming with possibilities. And that keeps me busy. My latest invention may be able to feed and sustain communities around the world. My team and I are always on the go, meeting new people and seeing new places. I produce films that I really care about. It's an honor to speak to audiences around the world. When people come together, meaningful work gets done. How do I do all this? Well, that part's easy. Hotelplanner.com.
Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? Hi, I'm George Foreman. People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can provide patent referrals and submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee your company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
For your free inventors information, call 1-800-890-1946. That's 1-800-890-1946.
It's Lincoln's summer sales event here at Alex Karras Lincoln. Drive a brand new 2017 Lincoln MKZ for only $299 per month, or a 2016 Lincoln MKX, Lincoln's premium sports utility vehicle, for $339 per month. We also have a great selection of certified pre-owned vehicles. Drive with the confidence of a 6-year, 100,000-mile comprehensive warranty and complimentary roadside assistance. Alex Karras Lincoln, family owned and operated, and winner of the prestigious 2015 President's Award. We are located 2 miles north of the Sarasota-Bradenton Airport on US 41. Is your old garage door stuck or broken? Would a new one give you a lift? Let Precision Door Overhead Garage Door Service of Sarasota come to the rescue with prompt and affordable repair service. Replacement doors come with an array of styles and colors, and they are rated to meet and exceed Florida standards. From estimates to installation, your satisfaction is our priority. If you're not 100% satisfied with any product, service, or installation, we will make it right, because Precision Door Service is a name you can trust.
Like Pearl Harbor, like the Kennedy assassination, you know exactly where you were when it happened. For me, I was in New York City. I had just started a new job working for the ABC station in Connecticut.
News Channel 8 reporter Alan Cohen is live tonight in Lower Manhattan with the very latest on this story. And Alan, you are not far away from the epicenter of this tragedy.
That's correct, Keith. And some 8 hours after this all began, the smoke continues to billow from the spot where the Twin Towers used to stand. New Yorkers have seen a lot over the years, but nothing like this. Bond trader Andrew Gallagher was at his desk in Tower 2 of the World Trade Center when the first airliner slammed into Tower number 1.
I was on the 55th floor, about halfway up, and we heard a boom, and windows shook. And we saw some debris flying, and we bolted out of the office.
But incredibly, Gallagher says, workers were told to stay at their desks. He got out, ran, just in the nick of time.
I was about 2 blocks away, and I turned the corner, and I heard a second boom, and all the windows shook, and I guess that's when the second plane hit the building.
Minutes later, the World Trade Center tower he worked in collapsed. He doesn't know how many friends and co-workers are gone. For hours, a steady wave of people who work in Lower Manhattan walked north to escape the smoke, soot, and devastation. Through Times Square, north to Spanish Harlem, where a fighter plane could be seen flying overhead, securing the airspace over New York City.
I can't put it in words. I'm very happy that all of my employees, my friends, are safe, but I think about the countless other people.
At the bridges and tunnels in and out of the city, chaos. Police closing Manhattan to all incoming traffic except emergency vehicles, and the thousands trying to flee a terrorist act, the magnitude of which was unimaginable until now.
It's horrifying, it really is.
This is Pearl Harbor again.
Yeah.
And just about 30 minutes ago, yet another building next to the World Trade Center collapses, this one a victim of collateral damage. This incredible day of tragedy and destruction continues. When we return, our roundtable continues with two Sarasota residents, native New Yorkers, one a New York City cop who was there that day.
On your TV, on your computer, on your camera, on your smartphone, on your Apple Watch. And now you can get ABC7, your Suncoast News on Roku. Just go to mysuncoast.com and click on the mobile tab for a list of fast and free downloads that deliver ABC7, your Suncoast News on the go.
They're coming from Tampa, Fort Myers, even Orlando. They're coming from everywhere for the Sarasota Ford Promise. We promise we're more than a dealership. We're a destination with a movie theater, massage room, aquarium, cafe, and more. We promise to give you top dollar for your trade, even if you don't buy from us. And if you do, we promise you the best deal. Bring us any competitor's ad and we'll beat it by at least $1,000. That's why they're coming from everywhere to Sarasota Ford, where 41 meets 301. SarasotaFord.com.
You only have one life. Are you gambling with it? 1 in 3 adults have high blood pressure. Not knowing your numbers could cause you to lose, big time. Luckily, you can turn the odds in your favor by getting your blood pressure checked today. Don't leave your health to chance. Learn more at heart.org/HPB.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
Call now, 800-290-0352. 800-290-0352.
Joining us for more on the 15th anniversary of 9/11 is Norm Schimmel, who is helping organize commemorations across the Suncoast this week, and Peter Abbott, who was with the New York City Police Department for more than 20 years and also a former Sarasota police chief. I want to thank you both for being here. And Peter, let me start with you. Where were you the moment that the planes hit? What was your rank? What was your job with the NYPD?
I was an inspector with the New York City Police Department, and I was assigned, I was the executive officer in the office of the first deputy commissioner. So I was on the top floor of headquarters, and our complex was adjacent to the police commissioner's headquarters, usually very stoic, and all of a sudden I heard a big commotion over there about 7:45 in the morning. I ran through the connecting doors, and I could see everybody pressed up against the glass, and from there we could see that the North Tower had been struck, and somebody said a plane ran into it. So coming from New York, we have a lot of disasters, unfortunately. There's a lot of things that would go on. So I just said, look, I'm going to grab the radio. It's easy for me to run across. It's only 4 blocks, go through City Hall Park and Municipal Plaza. And I said, I'll let you know what's going on when I reach the Manhattan South Field Command Post. So within a few minutes, I was down the elevator out the door. And by the time I got to Vesey and Church, the second plane hit. And
Norm, actually, why don't you hold that up? That's the New York City Times from 9/12. You know, an unprecedented time, and that's the New York Post there. But you're saying that you were in the church right across the street.
I was on the street, and when that second plane hit, that explosion was probably the loudest thing I've ever heard. And of course, your head goes straight up. And flames came out of both sides of the building, I guess from the jet fuel, and they actually met at the top temporarily. Of course, we knew at that point it was no accident, and then we got to work.
You know, I asked Linda the same thing when she was watching President Bush as it was happening. Is there a way to appreciate the magnitude of what was happening before your very eyes?
Your heart sinks. When the first plane hit, we were hoping against hope that it was an accident, but it was a clear, cloudless day. When the second plane hit, we knew there was no way it wasn't on purpose, and that's when your heart really sinks and you realize you're under attack.
You know, I was driving into work, and I was listening to WCBS radio, and the traffic reporter was saying a small plane, like a propeller plane, had hit the World Trade Center, and so it took a while for even by the time I got to work to identify that this was a commercial airliner. I can't imagine what you saw that day.
Well, we were trying to get information because if you're from the New York City area, you know that Manhattan's surrounded by 3 airports: Newark, LaGuardia, and JFK. So there's lots of air traffic. And we also knew very briefly, shortly thereafter, that I actually got on the radio and said to the dispatcher, I said, "This is the XO of the First Steps office." I said, "You got to call the FAA and get dibs." I actually used that word, not professional, but I said, "Yeah, get dibs on every plane in the sky, find out what's going on." They couldn't get a hold of 2 planes. They had your transponders turned off. They were off course. And one of them went into the Pentagon, one of them went into the field in Shanksville. But that was a very nervous time, waiting to see when the next plane was
Correct me if I'm wrong, was the Emergency Operations Center for the NYPD in the World Trade Center?
The city Emergency Operations Center was on the 22nd floor in one of the towers, and it's actually in 7 World Trade, a building that fell down later that night. It was destroyed, and we ended up going back to police headquarters to run the situation room.
And were you basically with the commissioner, and was the mayor with you?
We were in the intersection at 75 at Bessie and Church, and I was there with the police commissioner. I was there with the mayor, the fire commissioner, Tom Von Essen. I was there with the chief of department, briefly Joe Esposito, the head of the FBI down there, Barry Morn, all the staff that go along with that.
And did you see the towers collapse?
I was in 75 Barclay with the mayor. He was getting on the phone to try to get air support. It sounds crazy, air support for New York City airspace. And we were on the phone with the governor. We were trying to get the subway shut down, the tunnels closed, the air traffic put down. There was a lot of stuff going on.
And Norm, you were a New York City born and raised boy, 40 years, and you were in Arkansas at the time and drove immediately home.
I had a rental car driving to my company at that time, and listening to Mike in the morning, and they said a small plane hit the building. And when I hit the company, I saw the second plane on TV, turned the car around and drove. I can't even tell you how many hours I drove. I filled the car up. My first sighting was from the Jersey Turnpike, of the smoke and everything coming up before I got in the city. And if you said to me, did you drive 17 hours? I couldn't tell you.
This was traumatic for all of America, really the world. But do you feel any differently because you are a New Yorker?
Yeah, it's new, and Alan, I think you can relate to this too. 9/11, 8:46 in the morning is a day to many, many people in New York. But when you say 9/11 to a New Yorker, that's a period. It's not a day at 8:46, it's a period. Some people think it's 2.5 years. If you're involved with any of the people down there, it's a lifetime and more. But you know, you can remember the silence of the city. There's so much.
So what are you doing now to help commemorate the 15th anniversary of this?
Well, we're doing, I'm involved with the ceremony up in Sarasota, which is at the National Cemetery on Sunday night at 6 p.m. from 6 to 7:30. It was organized by the ministerials. And the same day, on Sunday, September 11th, at 10 o'clock in the morning at Patriots Park in Venice, there is also a memorial ceremony, and they do that every year, too. It's a very beautiful memorial ceremony. Sarasota has a 9/11 memorial in front of the police headquarters, and Venice has a 9/11 memorial at Patriots Park.
You know, it's been 15 years, and there are a lot of people, a lot of young people, who weren't even around when this happened. My kids were babies. And do you think that the people who were young or not even born yet have a really kind of a sense of appreciation of what this was? Kind of like, you know, I mean, I studied Pearl Harbor, but I was not around to experience it and to experience the impact it had on the country.
That's a great point. I was at a school today in Sebring. One of my coworkers asked me to speak before the school over there because his daughter had gotten a seed from the tree that survived, and they planted another tree, and they're doing a memorial over there. So I went over and I said, I looked out, it was elementary. Nobody had been born then. So it's really trying to put it in context. It's something they really haven't experienced firsthand. So I said, you know, we have a lot of freedoms in this country, and other places don't have those freedoms.
I tell you what, this conversation is so important that we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk some more. So we'll be back in just a moment.
Hurricane season is here. Are you prepared? ABC7 has the information you need. Access our special Surviving a Hurricane now. Learn how to prepare a readiness plan and survival kit. Know your evacuation route. Be prepared, Suncoast, when severe weather threatens. Access our special on our ABC7 app and all our live streaming platforms.
Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half-mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. And all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. Independence U for an independent you.
1-800-350-9872. Hi, I'm Dylan Radigan. The world is brimming with possibilities. And that keeps me busy. My latest invention may be able to feed and sustain communities around the world. My team and I are always on the go, meeting new people and seeing new places. I produce films that I really care about. It's an honor to speak to audiences around the world. When people come together, meaningful work gets done. How do I do all this? Well, that part's easy. Hotelplanner.com.
A message from the Pulaski Law Firm. You started there right out of high school, learned your trade and did it well. And the asbestos you handled, well, that was just part of the job. If you worked in the trades and were diagnosed with mesothelioma, get the best care available, then call us. You may be entitled to financial compensation without ever going to court.
Call 800-236-4994
and see how we can help. Mesothelioma, don't fight it alone.
Welcome to the all-new Seymour Buick GMC on the island of Venice.
Seymour smiles.
Seymour quality selection of new and pre-owned vehicles.
Seymour for your trade.
Seymour Savings.
It's the Buick 2016 model year sale down. Now get 20% below MSRP on select Encore models in stock. That's nearly $5,000 below MSRP on the 2016 Buick Encore.
Seymour now at Seymour Buick GMC on the island of Venice. Go to SeymourBuickGMC.com.
Welcome back. We are discussing the 15th anniversary of 9/11 with Norm Schimmel, who is helping organize commemorations across the Suncoast this week, and Peter Abbott, who was with the NYPD on 9/11. You know, I'm looking at the New York Times here of the moment that the plane struck. If you remember the TV transmitter on top of the World Trade Center, my dad designed it. He was an engineer for CBS television for many years, and you know, we all have our personal connections. If you're from the New York area with the World Trade Center, I went there on a class trip when I was in 5th grade. You know, I celebrated my parents' 50th anniversary there, and so it's still, after all these years, hard to really put this in perspective. And you know, Peter, let me ask you, I mean, how do you deal with the things that you saw that day? I mean, you saw people die. You had friends who died.
Yes. I always say closure is a word that's overused, and I just don't believe in that. I just think when you see things like this and they stay with you forever, and then you really take a deeper look at what your life means after that, because you kind of have this survivor's guilt. Folks who walked to the left died, and folks who walked to the right lived, and there was no rhyme or reason to it. And you just want to make sure that the rest of it really counts.
Norm, we live in such a fascinating area here in Sarasota because there are so many retired New Yorkers down here and families who have moved down to the from the Northeast. On top of that, you know, this is where President Bush was the moment it happened. What do you hope to get out of the different commemorations this week?
Well, two quick things. Firstly, just a sentence from my mother the night of it. My mother got a hold of me and she said, Norman, your generation has just suffered their Pearl Harbor somewhat closer to home. And it's a sentence that I've never forgotten. That's why I continue to help doing this, because I have a fear that December 7th is being forgotten, and then this will be forgotten by future generations. But I think if we continue to remember all the people and the incidents and all that occurred, and of course I remember 9/11 to me as a period, a 2.5-year period. I remember all the things that New Yorkers did, and especially our mayor, that we never forget this, and we never forget the people involved. That's the most important thing. I wish everybody in America would spend 5 minutes at the pools that have everybody's name on it. If you go down to what used to be called Ground Zero, to the World Trade Center, and stand at those pools for 5 minutes, your life will be changed, I promise.
Peter, have you been back?
I have. It's very difficult. They really did a nice job memorializing folks, but when you see the names, you know, on the sides of the pools that are engraved, and you realize you knew them, you were with them that day, and they're not here anymore, it's very hard. It really is.
And you know, that 9/11 memorial is really, I mean, it's such a profound part of our memory now. But Norm, you and your wife putting up a plaque at Booker Elementary because, in a very different way, that spot is so meaningful to really our national history.
Yes, it is, and always will be. The whole idea is for people to come in every morning and think about 9/11, just not on 9/11. I want to say one thing about the pools. At 6 o'clock in the morning every morning, a man gets up, and whose ever birthday it is that day, they put a white flower on it, and when you walk to those pools and see those flowers, it's unbelievable.
You know, I was reading today an account in Politico, a moment-by-moment account of President Bush's day, starting at the Colonnade, where he used to live, and all through the events in Sarasota. It was absolutely incredible. Gentlemen, we'll have to leave it here. Norm and Peter, thank you for being here. And when we return, we'll have an interview with former Senator Bob Graham about the Saudi connection to 9/11.
This is important news for women diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Talcum powder may have caused your ovarian cancer. According to many studies, long-term use of talcum powder in products such as baby powder or shower-to-shower for feminine hygiene is linked directly to ovarian cancer. If you are an ovarian cancer victim or if a loved one died from ovarian cancer after using talcum powder, call the law offices of Davis & Crump at the number below right now to find out if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now.
They took that stress and that tension when I was particularly feeling very bad after that nasty car accident, and it was such a relief to know that I didn't have to bear that burden alone, that I had help.
Our goal is to not just get a satisfactory settlement on their case. We want them up on their feet, happy again. They've gotten their life back.
US Med has great news for anyone living with diabetes.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, US Med will ship a new glucose meter right to your home.
And shipping is free.
My new meter uses only a speck of blood, so it's less painful than my previous meter.
If you have Medicare, private insurance, or prescription drug coverage, you're covered with US Med. We're welcoming new patients, even if your current provider can't supply you anymore.
I don't even have to test on my fingers anymore. I can test on my hand or forearms, and it's more accurate than my old meter.
So call US Med today, and you'll have a choice of 2 great meters.
One that actually speaks your results. or a meter so small it fits on the bottle of strips.
Act now, and US Med will include a free prescription discount card. We'll also send you a free diabetes cookbook. This is your opportunity.
So call US Med today.
You'll be glad you did.
For 15 years, Bob Graham has been trying to get to the bottom of the complicated web of connections between the 9/11 hijackers and Saudi Arabia. 15 of the 19 hijackers were Saudi nationals. Not only did several of the hijackers take flying lessons here on the Suncoast, there's the unsolved mystery of their connection to a Saudi family living in Sarasota at the time. He may have retired, but Senator Graham has not given up on his fight to get all the information out there. And joining us is former U.S. Senator Bob Graham, who was the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee after 9/11. Senator, thanks for joining us. What can you tell us today about that family who lived in Sarasota, the Ghazawi family, and their connection to the 9/11 hijackers?
Alan, what is known is that the FBI's investigative report stated that there were many connections between the three hijackers and that prominent family. What we also know is that about 2 weeks before 9/11, under what were described as urgent conditions, there was a new car in the front yard, there were food in the refrigerator, there were clothes in the clothes washer. The family left after 6 years of living in Sarasota and went back to Saudi Arabia. That's about the extent of the hard news that we have about them. The FBI, after a period of resistance, finally made available to a federal judge some 80,000 pages of documents. That information has been with the judge for a couple of years. He assumedly is going through the materials, and I hope soon will release those that he feels no longer require classification.
Now, some of this documentation has come out there in the famous 28 pages that you called for in terms of the release of what the federal government knew, and some of it was heavily redacted. I have some of it here, and it says, further investigation of that family revealed many connections with the individuals associated with the terror attacks on 9/11, and the address in Sarasota was mentioned in that. But days after that, the FBI announced that there wasn't any connections between the Saudi government and those hijackers. What's your understanding of that discrepancy?
Well, I call that aggressive deception. It's one thing to cover up, passively withhold information. It's another thing to try to rewrite the story. And I think that was what was happening in Sarasota. The investigation that was conducted at the time, immediately after 9/11, said that the investigation was not complete, that further inquiries were necessary. It said that there were many connections between the hijackers and the Saudi family, and that all of this information had been made available to both the Congressional Committee and the Citizens 9/11 Committee. It was determined that all of those statements were false. The FBI was trying to create the impression that that family had provided no assistance or support to the three hijackers.
Now, as we've been reporting, the Congress is voting on a bill that would allow U.S. citizens who lost loved ones during 9/11 to sue the Saudi government, which right now they cannot do. The indications are that the Obama administration would veto any bill. But if Americans were allowed to sue the Saudi government, do you think that more information would come out about the connection between the family in Sarasota and the 9/11 hijackers?
Absolutely. I think there would be a torrent of new information that would come as a result of the litigation of the families of the 3,000 persons who were killed on 9/11 and the Saudi government. On the other hand, I believe that there are other sources of information. There are documents that were suggested in the 28 pages, and the question is, were those leads followed up And there's been new information since the 28 pages were written back in the fall of 2002, such as the situation in Sarasota that are fresh and where I think there will be a significant amount of information pointing at Saudi Arabia being a co-conspirator with the 19 hijackers in the tragedy of 9/11.
It may be an obvious question, but what is the motivation for the government to object to release of this information?
I believe the motivations have changed over time. I think the original motivation, President Bush had announced that we would follow not only the hijackers, but also would follow any entities that were found to have assisted the hijackers to the ends of the earth. It must have been embarrassing then when they found all this information that it looks like Saudi Arabia was the facilitator of 9/11.